Okay, folks, good to see you again, and I know it's been a little while, but I think it's a good time to start another video. Here I am at home. I've got nothing better going on right now but to record a video that's going to help you out with lab number 2. Lab number 2, representing features, representing GIS data, building data sets. It's a big lab. Actually, it's going to be a few weeks. It's going to take a little while to finish this, and we are going to do our best. Here I am. I've got ArcGIS Pro open. I have two different projects open. I've got this one right here, which is kind of like a teacher copy, and then I have another one that is a blank project that is the same, identical to what each of you opened up in class earlier this week. I want you to know that I'm going to try my best to support you with this video. I'm going to go through the steps just like we did in class, and we're going to take it right to the end so that each of you has something to follow outside of our class. I'm going to do my best to not show you the answers that are in my teacher copy of the assignment. What I'm going to do is just try to go through all of the steps on my computer here at home so that you have something to follow, and so that because it's all about building confidence. It's all about getting accustomed to the interface and learning the interface so that we can move on and start to get into themes and working with our data in more advanced and more meaningful contextual ways. So here it is, right? The lab itself is this one right here, and if let me get my face off the screen so you can actually see what's happening right there. Right, so this lab right here, if you look at it, it's called Representing and Building GIS Data, and you can read all of the long dialogue. It makes no sense for me in a video to just read this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself set up. It talks about feature data sets and geodatabases first, and it says that we've got to make sure all the maps in the project are closed. That's all set up, and our first map is called Mundo. In the first map, we're bringing in data that is at a global scale, but also at a national scale. So there's two different scales happening, and what we need to do is make the map function so that you can zoom in and zoom out, and there aren't a lot of issues with there being too many labels or feature layers in the map that don't match the scale at which you've zoomed into or out to. Okay? So let's get to it. It says here in the first instruction, it says ensure all the map views in the project are closed, examine the feature datasets within the world.gdb, which is the geodatabase that is one of the geodatabases in this project, and it says ensure that the coordinate systems match the Mundo map view. So let's have a look at that. Right here I've got the blank, there's no maps open. If I open up the Mundo map, something's going to happen, and we're going to get a warning, basically. So let's do that. And in our catalog, in the catalog pane, what you'll see is that you've got maps and databases and folder connections, and the maps themselves that are part of the project that was given to you, there's two of them, the Mundo map and the United States map. And all of the data for this exercise has either come from Esri, the company that publishes the software, or somebody who has maintained and shared the data with Esri. So a lot of the stuff for the United States map has originated with the Census Bureau in the United States through the Tiger Line stuff, and great data, and it's public data. We're not doing anything commercial here. We're just trying to learn how to use ArcGIS Pro, right? So Mundo, how do we open that map? Well, I've got it here. When in doubt, right click on stuff, right? So here we go. I'm going to open this map up, and everything looks okay right now. What is this right here? This is the World Ocean Base. I can remove that, right? And I can just have a blank map, and I can look at that map's properties. All I'm doing is right-clicking, right? As soon as you right-click, you've got options, right? I'm right-clicking on the map. I want to look at its properties. I want to see what's the coordinate system. coordinate system is telling me that we're using equal Earth. Equal Earth, okay? That is not the same coordinate system that Google Maps or even typical base maps in ArcGIS Pro, they don't use that same coordinate system. So we have set the coordinate system of the map view, right? And if it doesn't match what the base maps are, then there's going to be a little bit of lag that happens, because ArcGIS Pro is going to have to redraw or refresh the base map and line everything up properly. It's called projecting on the fly, in order to make sure that everything lines up or is in the right place and is projected properly, right? It's not projected onto, it looks like it's on a spheroid. So let's do this. Let's put in one of the base maps. We'll throw in the oceans base map just because I like it. That's pretty much it. We don't need the reference information. So see how when you bring in a base map, you've got a base and then you've got reference. The reference is all of the labels. We are going to be providing our own labels that are going to come from the attributes of other layers. So let's remove this ocean reference layer and leave the base in. No problem, right? You can zoom in and you can zoom out, but notice that the refresh on it is a little bit slower than what we're used to from previous labs, where we were just using the Web Mercator projection. No problem. It's not like it's that slow. We can always turn the oceans off. All of the data for our project is in a geodatabase right now. There are feature classes that are within feature datasets, and this lab is just introducing that idea, that format, or that way of organizing your data. So where are the databases, right? Well, they're in this folder right here in the catalog pane. If you look, the United States GDB is there, the world GDB is there, and there's a project GDB there as well. Is there anything in the project GDB? Not seeing anything. That's fine. We're going to leave it. And if we needed to do any geoprocessing, or if we needed to, do any processing, and we forgot to, set our output to, a specific path or a specific location, then it would end up in this project geodatabase, which is lovely. I love that. I love having a project geodatabase because it's always there. It's not like you got to go and find the default. That's I should be wearing a dinosaur costume. Anyhow, this world GDB, what's in it? Well, there's a little arrow right here. Let's click on that, and we've got 3 geodatabases. We've got an admin boundaries. We've got demographics. I didn't know what to call it. I just figured I'd call it that. And hydro. So there's some water. The demographics, what's in there? We've got just cities and world major religions. These have come off of the portal, right? And we've got admin boundaries, and we've got continents, countries, economic zones, georeference. Those are the equator, the prime meridian, the Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, the Arctic Circle, the Antarctic Circle. They're lines, right, that help you to just make the map look a little bit more official, like it's coming out of an atlas or something, right? So we'll be using that. And we've got lat long in 2 different sizes, I guess you could say. We've got lat long 01, that's 1 degree increments. And then we've got one that's a 15-degree increment. And we're going to be using both of them. It's just only one is going to be visible at a specific scale. Right? In the lab, we've got to set up visibility ranges and so on. So once we get there, we'll get there. The regions and the time zones. Time zones is kind of neat, right? The world has a whole bunch of time zones. I'm in the Eastern time zone. That's I think it's -5, maybe +5. I think it's -5, right? And so it's interesting to think about things on a global scale in the Word document, right? What we need to do is ensure that the coordinate systems match the Mundo map view. What does that even mean? Well, the feature datasets in the world GDB have a coordinate system, and that's something that is very important for a feature dataset. When you create a feature dataset, it's a container that will hold feature classes, and all of those feature classes have to match their coordinate systems have to match the coordinate system of the container that they're in. So when you create a feature data set, there's a little bit of planning involved. You've got to think about, okay, well, how am I going to work this? Well, the map itself is an equal Earth projection, and we are going to be checking to see if all of the data in our world geodatabase is in the same projection. So let's go and have a look at that. So pretty easy to do that. I can just go to the properties of, first, the geodatabase, and let's just see what we've got. Phone ring. Right, so in the database properties, you can see, it really doesn't have a lot going on here. You can set up domains and you can do all kinds of stuff, but really what we want to do is check the properties of the feature datasets. See in here, the feature datasets have a different symbol from what we've seen in previous classes, right? We looked at different geometry types for feature classes, point, line, and polygon, just to keep it simple. And really, those feature classes get put into a feature dataset, which is just another type of container. And that's why the icon for it, right, if you look at it, that's why it has multiple little rectangles there, showing that you can have multiple classes inside of the dataset. So let's right-click on it and look at its properties to see that the spatial reference is saying that we are in equal Earth. Now, equal Earth is a projected coordinate system. It's a spherical one, or it's based on spheroid, and you can see that it has this thing called a WKID. A WKID is like a unique number given to all of the different coordinate systems. And there are lots of them. Next week's class we're going to talk more about coordinate systems, but for right now let's just focus on the fact that this feature dataset has a WKID and a name for its coordinate system. The name is equal Earth and the WKID is 53035. Alright, what about the map? We have this map, we want to put this data, we want to put all of the data from all of the feature classes from the feature datasets we want to bring into the map. So let's hope that the map has the same coordinate system. Check its properties, and the coordinate system is saying equal Earth. Well, what about the WKID? Where do you find that? Well, you can just go to the details right here, and it's going to open up a little spot, and you can see that the coordinate system details show the WKID, right? Equal Earth. We match up. Great, right? So in the Word document, right, it's like examine them, ensure that they match, and they do. And what do you do right here? What's this little text box for? Well, what is the unique WKID for the Mundo map? Insert your answer into the text box at right. That'll get you a mark. I'm not going to put it in there because obviously you just watched me do it, so you can figure that out. You know how to find it. Alright? So next we're going to add the world ocean base to the map view. That's what it's saying, but we've already done that. It's already in. So let's just we already have it. Remove the reference, we did that. It says drag the entire admin boundary feature dataset into the map view. What? What does that even mean? Well, if I close these off, I can take this entire feature dataset and drag the whole thing in. You remember last week we were bringing feature classes in one at a time? Well, what if you have like 7,500 of them to put in? You never would, but what if you have lots that you need to put in, right? I can just drag the whole thing in, and there it is. There's all of the data, and it drew very quickly, right? But there's a lot of it there, and all of a sudden, the world doesn't look as great as it did because everything is kind of overlapping, and things are just sort of, they're all there, right? Something else, a little bit of review. The line geometry types drew above the polygons. That's the default drawing order, right? The default drawing order we talked about last week goes point. Point will always load on top of line or polygon, and lines are second and polygons are third, and so on. So, important. You can select multiple things at a time, right? So I could select all of these in my map, and I could turn them all off, and be back to where I was and have all of my layers sitting in my map. It's a wonderful thing, right? I can select each layer individually. And what that does is it gives me the opportunity to work with the feature layers, right? As soon as you bring something in to the map from catalog, this catalog pane, right, it becomes a feature layer. When it's in catalog, it's a feature class. But as soon as you bring it into the map and it's displayed, well, it becomes a layer. And you can work with that layer. You can change its representation, change colors of things. You can set up different symbologies, different primary symbologies like unique values or graduated colors, graduated symbols. There's all these things that we're going to do in this lab, right? So it's kind of cool to look at it. Now, in the Word doc, it says that we need to do something next. And what is that? Remove the layers that are not listed in the table at right. Okay, so we need time zones, lat long 15, countries, regions, and continents, and they are going to have all of these things associated with them. So let's see what we got to do here. We don't need lat long 01, so we'll remove it. We don't need georeference, so we can remove it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we don't need economic zones. We could remove it. Perfect. So that's that. Now, what else does it say in the table? It also says time zones, lat long. Well, it says put regions on top and make them have no fill. This can be confusing for some people. So I'm going to turn the regions on, and you can see that here they are. And, we could label them, but I'm not going to bother with that yet. But it says put them on top. Well, if I put them on top in the drawing order, then I can't see the lat longs anymore, at least on the continents, right? They go in behind. So drawing order is an important thing and an important concept to get our head around. The time zones, same thing, right? If I were to put the time zones up here, they would cover over the lat long as well, right? We've got to think about how we're going to represent this data so that we can see through some layers and still be able to see the oceans in the background and so on. So when you are making your layer hollow, what you're doing is you're assigning a fill color of none, nil, nothing, right? You're saying no to fill color. You're not saying, oh, I'm going to turn it white, because if you turn it white, well, you're going to get a white fill, and that's going to be opaque. So the regions themselves currently are green, and they have a symbol patch, right? I'm hovered on this symbol patch right now, this little green box. If I left click on that, that's going to open up the Symbology pane. The Symbology pane we worked with last week and in previous weeks, and this Symbology pane is our way of changing the appearance of the feature layer that is in the map that is currently selected in the table of, not the table of contents, or the contents pane, right? So when I click on where it says regions, it gives me primary symbology. But if I click on the symbol patch, it brings me here where it's like format polygon symbol. It doesn't say secondary symbology, but that's the idea. The primary symbology, you can change to all of these different methods of symbolizing. We're not going to do that yet. We're going to keep things simple to start, and we're going to work with the symbol patches right here. You see that? It's kind of neat how you can do that, right? One other thing is, here's the symbol patch here. You can click it in the Symbology pane as well. You can also change its shape, right? For regions, I could see this little drop-down menu here. I could change the shape of these to, I don't know, what is this? Natural area, boundary. Oh, let's go boundary. Sure, why not? See, it changes. It's lovely. It's kind of cool. I like it. It's nice. But it has to be hollow. So what are we going to do? Let's left-click on it, and we get to this gallery. Now, in the gallery, I have a few things that are saved. I was just playing around with that the other day. I typically have quite a few more that are saved, but you've got a gallery and properties. You go to the properties of the symbol patch, and you can change the color of the fill, you can change the outline color, and you can change the outline width, right? So let's change the color of the fill to nothing. See, no color. When that happens, nothing happens in the map. Why not? Well, we have to apply that change. We apply the change, and now we don't see that. It's like they disappeared, but they didn't. They would only disappear if you turned them off. When you turn them back on, you can see the outline color. Now, what do we have to do with the outline for the regions layer? It needs to be black and 1.2 thickness. 1.2 thickness. Right, so we can set this to 1 and say 1.2, hit the enter key, and the point comes in. Right? Do that, thicken them up a wee bit, and it's asking for black. I'm going to go to gray 80% because black is a very strong value to be adding to a layer. So there it is, gray. All the regions are gray and hollow. Nothing else looks very good though. I'm going to close my catalog pane just to give myself a little bit more room, right? And let's keep working with the Symbology pane and other layers. So in the table here, let me see if I can make the, oh, where did it go? There it is. If I go to here and look at time zones next, they're supposed to be second in the drawing order, and black with a thin outline. See that? 0.2 and no fill. That's easy. So here's time zones. Watch what happens. I don't have to close the Symbology pane and reopen it. I can leave the Symbology pane right where it is. And I can just click on time zones, and it's giving me a warning. It says, oh, there's uncommitted symbol formatting. Do you want to apply it? In this case, sure. Yeah, I'll do that. I can hit enter, just hit yes. And yeah, the outline color, or the outline of the regions layer, has darkened a little bit. Perfect. The time zone. Let's give it a different symbol patch shape. And let's look at changing its color to none for the fill. And we want to make it thin. And we'll go with same thing, nice and dark. Now, when I click apply, the map is going to change drastically because the time zones in the Symbology pane, this is what we want them to look like. As soon as I click apply, the time zones in the contents pane are going to be updated, right? So as soon as I do that, what happens? Well, now all of a sudden we can see quite a bit more happening in the map. That's what we want to do. So let's continue that process. I'm just going to speed up now. Countries are, where's my third? Lat long 15, ultra blue 0.6. No problem. Lat long 15. We're going to go ultra blue. Let's find ultra blue. 0.6. Apply that. It's supposed to be third in the drawing order. Right? Looks nice. Countries. What are countries? Countries are fourth. No fill on the countries. Black and 0.2. So super thin. Black and 0.2 for the countries. Let's give them a symbol patch like this, and then let's click on it and go no fill, 0.2, nice and dark. Right, it's feeling almost like an art program right now, right? We apply that. What about the continents? They're a little bit different. It says here we've got to go with a unique values. That's a primary symbology. We've got to use the continent field. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay? So we go back and you'll see that this continents layer right here, I'm going to turn the countries on so we can just see what's happening. And we're getting more boundaries showing up. That's great. The continents, I'll turn them on as well, and they're all the same color right now. We want to make each individual continent a different color. And we can do that by changing the primary symbology from single symbol to, well, there's others. Let's look at them. Unique values is what we want because we're using continent names. Continent names are not values. They're not like numbers like population or area or anything like that. They're names, right? So they're classed into groups based on, well, it could be codes, it could be, not numerical. They're not quantified, right? They're put into classes based on, if in this case, unique names. So let's choose unique values and see what we get. Well, everything went dark gray because this FID number 1 field, we need to update that to the continent field. Notice that I don't have to hit apply anymore. When you change the primary symbology, you get an automatic update on the symbologies, which is kind of nice. I like that. Every continent has its own color. Now, do I want to give it a color scheme? Sure, why not? Look at all of these different color ramps I can add. This one, right, I don't know. What about this one? Hey, that's pretty nice. I like that. Pretty bright though. Maybe a little bit too a little too saturated. Let's bring the saturation down a little bit. I like that one. That one's just real nice. Real nice. Right? So there it is, right? Now, there are some other things that we can do. In the contents pane, you can see that now all of the names of the continents are showing up, but you're also getting this all other values field. Now, it's not a field, it's just an all other values patch. It just, it doesn't look very nice. So, let me go and remove that. What you do is in the primary symbology, in the symbology pane, for the classes tab, you can hit this little more, and there's other things that you can do, right? You can reverse symbols. And that would be, if you were playing around with point layers. We're going to be doing that in this lab. But I'm going to uncheck where it says show all other values, and that goes away. Right? So one thing that I forgot to do, though, is in the primary symbology, I forgot to give each one of these shapes. So do I have to do them one at a time? I'm going to, because I forgot how to do it all at the same time. No big deal. See how you can update the symbol patch shape as well. You're not required to do this, but I'm just showing you that it can be done. And somebody is going to show me that, oh, you can do them all at the same time if you change the shape. Hey, that'd be great. Anyways, what if we wanted to label them? How do you label? What do you even do? When in doubt, right-click on stuff. Well, what do you want to label? You want to label the continents? Okay, well, right-click on them in the contents pane. Try it out. What happens? Oh, look at all the things we can do. Look at all these things. Oh, right there, we can label them, right? We can activate those labels right there. But I want to show you that here, when the continents feature layer has been activated or selected in the contents pane, you can go up to the top in the ribbon and see that there are new tabs available. These would not be available if there was nothing selected, right? If we just clicked on the map itself, oh, there's nothing there, there's nothing there, right? If we go and click on a layer in the map, oh, now the feature layer has some options. We can modify its data, or we can work with its data. We can play around with labeling. Hey, there's one. Or we can play around with its appearance. That's what we're doing. When we change the representation of features, we're changing their appearance. But we could also be changing the scales at which they're represented as well, right? So we're going to be doing that. Let's look at labeling. I always wondered if you could, it says label things in this class. So let's go to continent and see, are we getting any labels? Not getting any labels. Why not? It says label features in this class. Why isn't it working? Well, that's okay. Maybe it's because the labels aren't turned on or enabled. You can enable them by right-clicking, and there they go. Here we have labels on the continents. Are we supposed to label the continents? Or are we supposed to label something else? In this other project, you can see that, oh, those are regions. We're supposed to be labeling those regions. So let's turn these labels off and label the regions layer. Instead, what happens? Oh, we get numbers. Why are we getting numbers? Well, because of the FID1 field being used. That's the default, right? So when you just turn labels on, what happens is that, well, it'll label, but it's going to give you just the default. So you have to choose. You have to be very deliberate when you're using this software. So choose the region, and there they go. Now we've got labels. And the labeling tab up at the top, right? That's what gives you the opportunity to modify these labels. And you can say, well, those are a bit big, I'm going to turn them down a bit. And maybe I don't want black, maybe I want to go with a nice dark gray just to kind of clean it up and make it look a little bit neater. Right? The labeling tab allows you to do tons. So much more. Right? And you can see the labeling tab has some other things going on, right? There's the label classes that you can create. There's all kinds of things you can do with label classes. You can have multiple fields from an attribute table become a label, right? You can have, we could say, well, we want to see the names, we want to see the population, we want to see the population density. You can do all kinds of stuff with labels, and we will be doing that in this class, but let's just keep it simple for today because we're just getting started, right? So you can zoom in and out and have labels disappear or appear at different scales. That's what the visibility range is all about. And you can see that there's visibility range on the labeling tab. That's for just the labels. And if you look at the appearance tab for, in this case, the regions, you can see there's also a visibility range there as well, right? You can change transparency. There's all kinds of cool things that you can do. And yeah, of course, you can open up the Symbology pane right here, right? And you can change the primary Symbology here as well. So, the way ArcGIS Pro is laid out is just so nice. Everything is just right where you need it, and you just hop up to the ribbon, and away you go. Okie doke, what's next? Let's look at this. So we've done all of this. Now it says remove all the layers, yeah, set the Mundo map view to a scale larger than 1 to 100 million. Close the catalog pane, drag and position the contents pane so it's undocked, but not obscuring any feature layers in the Mundo view. Okay. Take a screen capture of the entire ArcGIS Pro interface and place it inside the gray box below. So here's this gray box. What I've done is I've created these boxes for you to put your screenshots in so that the Word document or the document that you are going to be submitting to our LMS Dropbox system can be easily evaluated and everything goes in the right spot. I'm happy about that. So let's look at this. It says I'm going to close the Symbology pane. It doesn't go away. I'm going to take my contents pane as well, and you know what? I'm going to reduce it in size a wee bit, maybe put it right here so you can see what's going on, and everything looks great there. I'm pretty happy. Maybe these, the lat long 15, looking at it, I'm thinking I want them to be a little bit more transparent because they look a little bit strong. So let's try a 40% transparency. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Now, what scale am I at? I'm sitting at 114 million. That's a pretty small scale. What if we wanted to go to 100 million? If I zoom in a little bit, now I'm at 73 million. How do I get to 100 million? Well, there's a few different ways you can do it, right? You can click on the Map tab, right? And you can say, I want to... Oh, it's not there anymore. Used to be there. Here it is, down here. Look at this down in the bottom left-hand corner. There it is, 73 million. There's a drop-down arrow there. Okay, there's some standardized scales, right? 1 to 100 million is right there. I could probably get away with a smaller scale than that. Can I get away with 750 million? Oh, I mean 75 million, I mean? Oops. Let's see if I can get away with 75 million. What happens? Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Or is it? Can I? Can I do it? I'd be happy if I could get 75 million and see the whole world. No, it's just not going to fit in my window, right? What if I took this window and dragged it over here and maximized it, right? Looks good, but now I can't get my table of contents in. Well, that's not fun. What if I take my table of contents? Well, I can't put my table of contents on that window. So, but I can make this window larger, right? Let's see if I can do it. Now can I take this? Oh, look at that. Still though, I'm still obscuring this side. Don't like it. Don't like it. Let's drag it back into the middle and change the scale to 100 million like it says in the Word document. 100 and then 6 zeros. And just put things just like that. The other reason why I want to see the whole interface for marking is because I want to be able to see that you're logged in to your account with our Sioux College GIS department. So if I see that you're logged in, I see that you've done everything in the first portion of the exercise, and everything looks right, then you're going to get the marks. So how do you take a screenshot? Right, there's a few different ways. I've got this one right here, the snipping tool. You can see you could use that if you wanted to, but we're going to try to get the whole screen. So why do you need the snipping tool? Another way you can do it is you can use your keyboard. There are a couple of different kinds of keyboards, but basically what you want to do is take a screenshot of the entire active window, which involves, if you have a keyboard like me, all I got to do is just hold down the Alt key, A-L-T, Alt, and hit the print screen button. And what that does is it allows me to just paste it wherever I need. So let me go over here and just Control V to paste, hopefully. Oh, that's the wrong window. Of course it is. Gotta love it, eh? Let's put this back. Do it again. Alt, print screen. Now, you may have a different keyboard. Your keyboard may have a function button on it as well, and if it does, then you would have to hold down Function, Alt, and then hit print screen in order to be able to get the full active window. And there you go. It's just a matter of grabbing it and pasting it. You can do it with the snipping tool as well, no problem. It's just you've got to grab it with the snipping tool, then you have to copy it, and then you have to paste it into the Word document. But here it is. Here's my first few steps worth 5 marks, right? You see it right here, 5 marks. You get 5 marks for doing this. Let's move on. This exercise poses the complex challenge of working with multiple layers at varying geometry types, their labels in a map view that must be represented appropriately well at multiple scales, blah, blah, blah. Right? Use the table below to modify the representation of the window map layers. So we are going to have to, looking at this, it says add features from the world GDB, modify the drawing order, and refine symbology further in the contents pane. We got to turn on all these labels, modify the representation, and assign a visibility range for both or each feature layer and any of its active labels. That's a lot to say, and if we are systematic about it, I think we can do it. I am going to apologize right now because I think I messed up a little bit when I was creating this table. So in this video I'm actually going to repair this table as I'm working, because I thought I was making it look simpler when I was merging all these cells together, and oh, what a mess. I think I even messed up some of the numbers, so my bad. But I know how to make the map look good, and it has to do with, right, drawing order, fill colors, outlines and thicknesses, point sizes, and feature and layer visibility ranges, and then, yeah, the labels themselves, what field are they going to come from, and label appearance. So we're going to do all that, and we're going to start by, let's add the cities layer. And it needs to be number 1 in the drawing order. It needs to be black fill color, 1.3 in its point size. Okay. Where do I get the cities layer from? Well, catalog pane. Oh, where did it go? Where's my catalog pane? Well, I gotta get it from, I'm gonna get it from the view window and just say, I want my catalog pane back. I had turned it off, right? Remember? I don't need this to be at 100 million anymore. I can zoom in and out, no big deal. Cities, 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 cities. Where are the cities? There are the cities. Let's drag them in. Let's see what happens. Whoa, there's lots of them. But the symbology needs to be modified because they look like, well, they're not well represented. The appearance. We go to Symbology. Let's not change the primary symbology. Let's leave them simple. A single symbol type of needs to be black with no outline. Size is going to be 1.3. Right, no problem. I'm going to right click and get to the Symbology pane right here and change the symbol patch. Notice that for a point layer, you can't change the symbol patch shape. It's a point. What would be the point of that? I said it. You know it. Let's go with the dark, dark. No color for the outline. And the outline width we're going to set to 0, but the size of the point we're going to set to 1.3. Let's apply that and see what happens. Oh yeah, look at that. Beautiful. And when you zoom in, they stay nice and tiny. Now if I were to label these things, it would be a disaster. Right? Watch what happens. I label them, and you can't make any sense of that. So we can do better. I'm going to turn off the labels, and we're going to zoom out. And what is being labeled right now? The only thing that's being labeled right now are the regions. We can keep them labeled, they're fine. Points. Okay, so what about the points? Do we want to see the points at this scale here? Does that add to the map, or does that kind of take away from the map a little bit? It actually makes it more difficult to see the labels for the regions. So let's set a visibility on this points layer. That's done in the Appearance tab. We're going to set a visibility so that if you zoom out beyond 1 to 20 million, they disappear. As soon as I set that, boom, they're gone. But if you zoom in beyond 1 to 20 million, I'm at 1 to 40 million. If I go here, I'm at 1 to 10 million. Oh yeah, there they are. They're back. That's a visibility range. What else? We want to label these things, right? So the label visibility is going to be set to 1 to 5 million, which means that if you zoom out beyond 1 to 5 million, the labels are going to disappear. And that makes sense, because remember we tried to label all of them, and there's just too many of them. Spaghetti factory. So let's set that. We want to have the city name as the label field, and the labels themselves we want to put at 8 point and dark gray 70%. No problemo. Right, so I can stay zoomed at this scale, no problem. I'm at 1 to 10 million, so maybe I should zoom in a little bit more. 1 to 4 million will be inside of the label visibility scale. So if I go and modify it so that at 1 to 5 million the labels disappear, and I turn the labels on, all these cities are being labeled. I'm going to change this to 8 point and 80%. That's that. We're good to go. So if I were to zoom to, I'm going to type it in. If I zoomed to 4,999,999, oh, that's 490. I need 3 more 9s in here, sorry. No, I needed just 1 more 9. You can tell I'm so good at scale, it hurts. 1 to 499,999. What about 1 to... There we go. We should still have labels at 4,999,000. But as soon as I go to 5 million, oh, they're still there. What if I go to 5,000,001? They should disappear. They did. That's cool. So I zoom in a little bit. Right? They're back. Labels in, labels out. Right? Labels on, labels off. Do the Homer Simpson kind of thing where you're just like, labels go on, labels go off. So there it be. We don't want labels to be visible for the cities outside of a scale of 1 to 5 million. And we don't even want to see the cities outside of a scale of 1 to 20 million. Right? So I'm at 1 to 19 billion right now. And there's the cities, but no labels. I zoom into 1 to 3 million and the labels should appear. Bingo. Love it. Okay? That's it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do that kind of stuff. That's an example. So let's keep moving forward with this table. Next, the regions are second, black 1.2. Oh, the only thing we're going to do with the regions to modify is the regions are going to have 10-point labels. They're already labeled, so we just have to, that's no big deal to change them. But we want the labels to disappear when you zoom in, meaning that what's going to happen is when we zoom in a little bit too far, we don't want to see what the region is anymore. We're going to want to see labels for the countries. So let's set that up, and we're going to do that at 1 to 10 million. And in fact, we want the whole layer to disappear at 1 to 10 million. So this is a visibility range that limits things when you're zooming in. So let's do that. And we're not changing the look of it, all we're doing is changing the visibility range. So the labeling for the regions layer, see how I had to change the regions layer in the contents pane? I had to change to it being the active selection, and then I had to set the 1 to 10 million. So right now, nothing is happening because, well, we're not inside of 1 to 10 million. We're sitting at 72 million right now. So, you know, if I zoom over here, I'm at 12 million. And that means that nothing's happening. But as soon as I go inside of 1 to 10, they disappear. Or at least the labels do. But we still see that the regions are there. And the reason why we want it to disappear is because if you look at the region boundaries versus the country boundaries, there's some discrepancies, right? The countries and that layer that is for the countries have a more complex border. It's more accurate spatially, right? So what we want to do is we're going to take the appearance of the regions layer and we're going to set a 1 to 10 million visibility range in. So in beyond 1 to 10 million, they disappear. Crap. Just like that. What else do I have on here? Is this time zones? Yeah, we want time zones to disappear as well. Do we even have time zones in the table? Looks like they're not. For me, all I'm going to do is, I'm going to leave time zones in my map just because I like them. And I'm going to set the visibility on them to 1 to 10 million as well. Right? So now the line work that we see is nice and clean. It's a wonderful thing. So we zoom out and oh, there's the regions. They look wonderful. What about the time zones? Oh, they're still there. What about the countries? Well, not a big deal. I turn off the time zones and I turn off the countries. See, with the countries, it's probably a good idea to remove them out beyond, maybe 20 million? I think that's probably what it's going to say in the table. So here we go. Let's keep going on. The georeference layer, we do need it, and it needs to be set to unique values based on the name field. That'll be the field 1 value, and it's going to be only visible outside of 1 to 20 million, and the labels, same thing. No problem. So georeference, oh, it's not even in the map, no big deal, let's grab it. Bring it in, let's zoom out to the whole thing. Watch what I do, I can just zoom to that layer, it'll bring me all the way out. And because it's activated, I can go unique values based on the name field, and let's go with blues. We have a blues. Yeah. And let's use our Tropic of Capricorn, Cancer. Let's make those each yellow, nice and thin. 0.2. Some kind of a medium yellow. That'll work. Go back to the primary symbology. Right? And the Tropic of Cancer, we'll do the same. Make them a medium yellow. So it's a little bit more if you're doing this. I'm kind of making a customized unique values setup here. Now let's take everything else. You know what? I'm gonna take Antarctic Circle. Let's do something cool with it. Let's make it white, nice and thin, maybe 0.4. But let's go beyond that. Let's go see how you can change just the regular symbol, but you can also go in here and play around with other things. I can put a dash effect on it. I'm going to make it a dashed white line and apply that. You can see as I'm moving through these, let's go with the Arctic Circle, we'll do the same so it matches, right? So it was 0.4, it was white, come on, and then we want to go with a dashed line. Get that done. The equator, maybe we'll make it a nice thick, not super bright, but let's go with like a darker blue, and not super thick, maybe we'll go 0.8, and we'll do the same with the prime meridian. No dash, no nothing like that. Apply that. Prime meridian right there. Let's go with a nice dark 0.8, so we're matching, right? No dash, solid stroke. North Pole and South Pole. Do I have South Pole in there? North Pole. I'm going to remove that because I don't see it in this projection. How do I get rid of it? How do I remove that? Right click, remove. Bye bye. Remove. Bye bye. Let's do the same with this international dateline stuff. Remove it. There it be. And let's get rid of the all other values so that all we see are just these things here. What's this? And that is none. Well, we can fix that in a different way. So that's set up. Let's turn on the labels. And what are the visibility ranges for this layer? Georeference visibility 1 to 20 in, 1 to 20 in for labels and features. Okie dokie. Oh, look at this international dateline business happening. We don't want that. Okay, so in beyond 1 to 20 million, we want all of this stuff to disappear so it's less annoying looking. Same with the labels. In beyond 1 to 20 million. No problem. So if you zoom in beyond 1 to 20 million, what happens? No labels. And we don't see the equator anymore. I'm fine with that. You know what? I'm fine with that. It's not like it has to be, we could change our mind, we can modify that all we want, all day long. So the labels themselves, let's make them nice and small, nothing too aggressive. What does it say in the Word doc? What do we want? Georeference, labels, calibre, regular, 8-point black. Okay. Looks exactly like how we want it. Prime meridian, equator, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, Arctic Circle, Antarctic Circle. That's all we wanted to show. That's all we wanted to show. Lat long 15. Gray 50%, half point. And it's the same for lat long 15 and lat long 1. So what does that mean? Do we have the lat long 1 even in the map? No, we don't. Let's grab it, bring it in, and put it with the lat long 15. But see what happens when you're at a scale. We've got to modify this lat long 1. First, I'm going to take it and we're going to go with gray 50, 0.5 thickness. We'll apply that. It's still not going to look very good, but it looks a little bit better. Same with the lat long. We're going to go with 0.5 to thin it out a wee bit, and we'll go with that gray 50. Apply that. Now, for the lat long 1 to 5 million. So we don't want to see it outside of 1 to 5 million. Lat long 1. Out beyond 5 million. Don't want to see it. Oops. That should make it disappear. Oh, not the labels, the appearance. Not 1 to 20. We want it out beyond 5. And the labels, I suppose, same thing, right? We don't want to see the labels out beyond 5 for the lat long 1. Yep. Value field is used for the labels on both of these layers, same thing. So not object ID, we want value, and we are going to turn the labels on. Not going to see these ones, we're going to turn these labels on, and there they are. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. But we want the value field. You don't want to get confused between the object ID field and the value field, because when you look at it, each one of these lines is supposed to represent 15 degrees, right? So 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, and so on. Here in Sault Ste. Marie, we're at negative 84, or 84 degrees west, right? So you can see the 75 degree line runs right through, I guess, I don't know, Ottawa, Toronto area. It's hard to see from this scale. There it be. Now let's zoom in and check on our 1 degrees. You're going to see something about the projection that's happening, right? When we're, zooming into around where Sault Ste. Marie would be, the projection has it so that everything's, sort of spherical. We're in the northern hemisphere, and we're far away from the equator, and we're pretty far away from the prime meridian as well. This isn't great for zooming in, right? There are other projections that are much better at handling, different parts of the Earth when you get further away from the equator, right? So, we're going to be talking a lot about that. Things get warped and distorted as you sort of move further north. This one is nice though. It kind of preserves the size of features, and it tries to preserve shape, but it doesn't do a very good job at all. Anyhow, next on the list, what do we need? What do we need? We need to get the lakes named layer, the inland perennial layer, and the rivers. These are all from the hydro feature dataset. No problem. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to drag the whole hydro feature dataset over, because that has all of the layers in it. And we've got some lakes. Oh, it's starting to draw pretty slow because there's lots of them. So the inland perennial layer, we need to put a limit on that. Okay. Same with the lakes named, and also same with the rivers layer. Right. So let's go and look and see what. Let's deal with rivers first. I'm seeing that the rivers need to be. It should be blue-gray dust. or maybe a darker blue. And we want them to be, oh, glacier blue. They're glacier blue, 0.6. Let's do that first. Rivers. Glacier blue. 0.6. Apply that, and it looks like something happened, but it's not a ton. It's just a little bit. The other things that we want to do to the rivers are, it looks here to be that the feature visibility for the rivers, they disappear when you zoom in beyond 1 to 10 million. So, no problem. In beyond 1 to 10. Right? Now they're gone. And for the rivers, no labels, nothing, nada. Perfect. What's the next one? The inland perennial layer needs to be above the rivers, and blue-gray dust with glacier blue as the outline, 0.2. Okay. Inland perennial. Blue-gray dust. And the solid stroke fill of, was it glacier blue? Let's go with glacier blue, nice and thin, 0.2. Done. We apply that, and they're going to change, but we got to set some visibility parameters here. We got to set the range so that, did you see how long it was taking for those inland perennial lakes and rivers to just draw? Because there's so many of them. They're a higher resolution, or they're meant to be viewed at a larger scale. So don't be looking at them in beyond 10 million. And no labels. So the appearance in beyond 1 to 10 million, they're gone, or they're supposed to be gone. What are all these other lakes? Lakes named? Inland perennial, 1 to 10 million, in beyond. Why are they still there? 1 to 10 million. Visibility range. Let's try 1 to 20 million. They still are showing up. Is it the rivers? No. Inland perennial. It's supposed to disappear at 1 to 20 million. Something's going on here. What is happening? I don't like that they're taking so long. Oh, I have it backwards. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, no, we want to go the other way. When you're zoomed out, they disappear. So this happens to me on a regular basis. Anything binary just confuses my brain. There it is. So, out beyond 1 to 10 million and they disappear. Yeah, that's embarrassing. I apologize. What are you going to do? The lake's named layer, let's look at it. And it's saying blue-gray dust, glacier blue, 0.2. Out beyond 1 to 20. All right. Blue-gray dust. And glacier blue, 0.2. We'll apply that. And we're going to set this so that out beyond 1 to 20 million, they disappear. What is this? The rivers. Is that the rivers that are doing that? It sure is. The rivers, out beyond, let's go 1 to 10. What layer is that? Maybe it's the layer is that? Inland perennial. I'm at 1 to 24. What layer is showing up? I don't know. I gotta figure that out. Okay, I figured that out. It just took me a second. The rivers themselves, when you look at them, they actually have like the boundary of the lakes built into them, and you don't want to see that by itself. You want the lakes to be with them, right? So what I've done is I've taken the rivers and I've set them so that we don't want to see them in beyond 1 to 10 million because we want to see the higher resolution inland perennial stuff, right? So with the rivers, right, I've got them set where they disappear at 1 to 10 million inwards and they disappear at 1 to 20 million outwards, which is the same as what happens with the lakes. The lake's named layer will disappear at 1 to 20 million out. And what's nice about that is that it functions nicely. So the rivers and the lakes will appear together when you zoom in. But then when you zoom in beyond 1 to 10 million, the lakes should also be disappearing at 1 to 10 million. The lake's named layer. And just leave us with this inland perennial layer, right, that has some nice high res things going on. Right? You zoom all the way out, and we're far enough out that we don't need to see lakes at this scale. And that's what we're trying to do, is just set it up so that it works well. So that's done. Let's keep moving. Where's the thing at the place? I gotta get the stuff. Countries. Black 0.8. In beyond 1 to 10. That doesn't make sense. We want them to be visible in beyond 10. That's where there's a mistake. Let's split these. For the countries, we want them to be visible there, because that's where we want them to be visible. It's the continents that we want to disappear. That's what's going on. So we'll leave that at none. And the rivers, they disappear at 1 to 10 million. Like the lakes. And they disappear when you zoom out beyond 1 to 20 million. Like the countries are supposed to. Now we're cooking. And then perennial, we only see it in beyond, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be 10. Now we're getting there. Okay, so let's go and fix the rest up. Just make sure I'm seeing this properly. We want the labels to be on the country, so we've already done that. We're good to go. So I fixed that table, and this can get pretty confusing, but I put the table there to kind of help to speed things up. Right? You can burn a lot of hours just playing around with colors and changing and modifying, right? So it's kind of like you want to do your best. Okay, so the countries are labeled, and the countries themselves, the visibility, we don't want to see the boundaries of the countries out beyond 1 to 10. There it is. And the labels for the countries, we don't want to see out beyond, let's go 1 to 10. So the countries, we don't want to see the country boundaries at all. So you zoom into 1 to 15 million and the country boundaries appear, but you don't get the name of the countries until the region labels disappear, which is right here. Where's our labels? There's our labels. Now let's make our labels a little bit bigger. It's not bad. I want to be able to see country labels at a smaller scale. Let's do the labels for the countries 1 to 20 million. And for the regions, let's modify this to 1 to 20 million. There we go. That's better. Now what about the cities? When you zoom in close enough, are you going to get labels on your cities? Yes, you are. Cool. All right, we're almost there. We are almost there. So let's zoom out to the regions layer. Okay. Still a few things to fix up. See how there's these international date lines hanging across the top? I don't like that. It is kind of, they're confusing. It's not that they're confusing, it's just that they're in the way. We can modify those by just getting rid of them, or limiting their visibility using what's called a definition query. Okay? So let's go and see what I mean by that. It doesn't say definition query anywhere around here, but if we look, definition queries place limits on the number of features being displayed in the map based on its attributes. Okay. Label expressions do the same, but they do it to the labels. So you can say which labels appear, you can say which labels disappear, you can say which features are even allowed to be present, and limit some of the features based on their attributes, right? Which is pretty fun to do.